The first question: how many rich days is it today? What's the rich day count today?
When Rob first came home, our dear friend that helped us with that, he said, how long are you all gonna count? And so Rob says, and this had been under a year at this point, and Rob says, until I don't feel a need to count anymore.
Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watch Our Past. Today I'm talking to Fox and Rob Rich about Time 2 Unfinished Business, which is premiering at the Essence Film Festival on July 6, 2024. It is the follow-up to their Oscar-nominated documentary Time, and it continues the story and the fight that they started in Time. I'm going to talk to them right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. Also, a lot. Thank you. So, thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Fox and Rob Rich talking about Time 2 Unfinished Business, which is debuting at the Essence Film Festival on July 6, 2024. It is the follow-up to their Oscar-nominated original documentary Time, which chronicled their journey to get Rob his freedom after an unjust punishment. And now Time 2 follows their continued journey to get more justice and more awareness of the kind of like length of incarceration in Louisiana and in the United States overall. It is a heartfelt film. It has a lot of great information and just a motivating experience for you to see. I am very excited to talk to you. So thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you,
Thank you for
David.
having
Thanks for
us.
having us.
Of course, of course. So yeah, I mean, I talked to you about for Time, and I was like, this is a great story. I hope that there's more. And now we have another follow-up that continues that fight. I love that you, continue to tell your story and continue to fight. But I have one important question. The first question: how many rich days is it today? What's the rich day count today?
When Rob first came home, our dear friend that helped us with that, he said, how long are you all gonna count? And so Rob says, and this had been under a year at this point, and Rob says, until I don't feel a need to count anymore.
And I hope that you don't feel a need to count, and I would love that you would feel a need to count. That is even a
Yeah,
better thing. I love that you are now
stop
kind of like
counting, David.
it's just part of your life now. You don't have to. I mean, you're still celebrating it, you're still enjoying it, but it's not like
Right.
weighing on you. So I love that. So, one question: when did you decide to make this second film? Is this just kind of how your life is now? You are just constantly working towards the various causes, and so part of that is filming, part of that is social media, part of that is getting the word out, and so you're just constantly filming, or was there a concentrated effort to like make this movie specifically, and some of the goals of this movie are focused on?
I think it was intentional about making this movie. One of the things that we continued to hear throughout, David, was that people left time wanting to know more. Who contributed a considerable amount of footage to the film, would have liked to see just another element that I found to be important, and that was the justice piece. Getting people to understand that Rob didn't walk out of the prison of Angola after 21 years just because, no magic fairy happened and twinkle dust and he came home. It was a lot of concerted effort on our part. And so not only were we concerned about people knowing how he came home and what happened to us, but also the work that we continued to do after he returned, the work that he was going to do, that we were going to do upon his return home, to me was really going to be the most impressive part of our story. It's one thing to get freedom, but it's another thing to really do something with it. And what we understood when he walked out of Angola on September 20th, 2018, was that to be free is to free others.
Yeah, for sure. And I do love that you learned a lot. You learned, all this information and all, about the system in general when you were trying to get him free, and you were using that knowledge to, educate others and also help others as well. That is a noble purpose and also a great use of the effort that you've already put in. So I do love that you are continuing the story and that this is definitely not the end of the Time series and the Time franchise.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you,
thank you.
David. This story is so much bigger than Rob and I. This story is the story of 2.3 million American families that are in this system. And when you talk about the latest statistics, David, that show that 1 in 2 American families have a loved one that is living with a felony conviction, it's just not escaping any part of our society. Our president's son is facing time in prison. Our current candidate for president, former president, is dealing with with the judicial system, is now a convicted felon. So it's just things like that that shows us that this story permeates so many facets of the American fiber.
Yeah, and I do also love. I'll pivot a little bit on my interview that you both don't like shy away from your conviction. Like it was an unjust sentence for sure, but you both kind of recognize that it was a mistake and that it happened, but you haven't let that like define how you're proceeding. You are like thriving, and then you and also I love seeing that your kids are all also thriving. Like they are also learning from you and learning from your like guidance and your example. And I love seeing how they have all gone in very different directions, but they are all doing amazing. And that is one of the things I love most about this film is just seeing how much your family has thrived despite the hardships that you've had. And it's kind of like a nice story for America in general, because we've had a lot of hardships recently.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
With love, all things are possible, David. That's what we have learned. And we have just found nothing greater than that tool, that one tool that we all can add to our toolbox.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Fox, this was a kind of a new thing for you as well, because you are directing this film. I think this is your directorial debut. What
Yeah.
made you want to kind of take on that role as well? It feels like there's already so much going on in your life. What made you want to add that to your repertoire?
I felt that with the amount of footage that I had contributed to Time, that I should have been a part of the credits for my work. And because I am a storyteller, autodidactic, no doubt, self-taught, it was intentionality that landed 25 archive videotapes into the director's hands. That was, put it in the context for you, when I was buying those videotapes, David, they cost as much as a tank of gas.
Oh my gosh.
It was $20 for one of those mini DV tapes, and a tank of gas in those days was I could fill up my 1978 Buick LeSabre for $20.
So you're invested, yeah.
Yeah, and so for me, it's just the intentionality that a poor mother in Louisiana with all of these children, a husband that is incarcerated on a practical life sentence, and I am intentional about, out of all of the things I'm responsible for documenting this family, because I knew I had a commitment to tell this story. How? I was not sure, but I knew that it had to be told because it's bigger than us.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that though I went back and rewatched some of Time, and those, home videos are just precious. Like the fact that you prioritize that when there were probably several other things you could have spent money on is just an amazing, amazing kind of vision that you had.
Thank you,
Yeah,
David.
yeah.
Thank you.
So, I mean, like, was it difficult at all to kind of like juggle this, or is this kind of, I feel like you are so kind of keyed into social media and keyed into like sending a message that being behind the director's seat is just kind of like another facet of that. Was it difficult to kind of become the director as well, or was it just kind of another part of how you are planning out various causes and various kind of causes of action?
Well, I would first have to say, David, I'm a Black woman. So directing is a part of my responsibilities. It goes along with being a mother and all of those things. We're all directing our lives, in the direction that we want them to go. And a story is no different. For me, probably the most impactful part of this journey was when we started the undertaking of structuring the film. The producer that I brought on board with us bought us all a book on directing a documentary. And so in that book, you open up and it's like the second page. The gentleman from Robert Flowdery from Louisiana, as a matter of fact, they've given him credit for being the father of documentaries. And he said that when you have organized pieces of recorded reality into, what is it, baby?
Whenever you take
Pieces
of
of
recorded
recorded
reality and organize them creatively into a narrative, you have in fact created a documentary. So much of that is just kind of something that has been a natural thing, just as he wears the title or has been considered the father of documentaries. I would venture to say that Fox by far has got to be the mother then of selfies, because long before Facebook, Instagram, or any of those other platforms created ways for us to be able to kind of, document or create content, so to speak. Fox has been turning the camera on herself, acting as both director and subject, of her own productions. And so with that being said, like I said, there's been a lot of intentionality and just a lot of natural directoring director
Yeah,
Put a
direct.
shift on that.
right
Yeah,
ship inside of Fox, so it's to see her now take on or to take the place, the seat of the director's chair is really not it's not far-fetched, because in many ways she's been doing it for quite some time.
for sure. And we talked earlier about your kids as well. This does feel very much like a family fight, a family affair. Are any of your kids going to kind of like jump in as well? Are any of them kind of looking to follow in your footsteps? They seem to have very different paths already. Maybe I think Justice might have been like a student council president. Are any of them thinking about kind of coming in and helping to continue this fight as well?
I think they do it in their own way.
Right.
They don't necessarily do it in the manner that we do it. But to me, anytime a young Black male chooses to build a family before he bears children, or to get an education, or to build out a quality life for himself, to stay away from drug abuse, just those basic principles of living that have affected so many Black men, I think those things in themselves say that they are following in the footsteps of making use of their lives and not being arrested. That that kind of goes into one of those.
Yeah,
Especially
no,
when you
definitely
look at the
breaking that cycle of incarceration, which is just
Yes.
such a problem in America, and such a problem, especially in the Black community, is just a feat on its own. I love that your
Yes.
kids are just all thriving.
Yes, indeed. And then when you consider all of the national statistics that basically say that children of incarcerated parents are not expected to be doing the things that our children are doing, but in fact, they're expected to be doing quite the opposite. So when you look at the fact that we have basically enough degrees in this family to lend degrees to other people without them, speaks volumes, because statistically speaking, they're 7 times more likely to drop out of high school. But to see them go on and just do, like you said, just many of the different things that they're doing, and then doing it to the level that they're doing it, it's pretty much an act of defiance, in and of itself.
Resistance.
Yeah, for sure.
Defying the odds
No, it is, and I love the example that they are setting for people to watch, and then also their communities is admirable as well. I was curious, one of the things I loved most about this film was just hearing Ontario's verses. Like, his poetry is just so moving and so beautiful. Like, is there some way to get more of that? Like, I would love to see like a book of poems or something. I just wanted to hear more of it because it was so creative and so touching.
Ontario stays in the lab, as he calls it. But he is the poet, Ontario Smith on Instagram, and he is continuing to build out his repertoire. He is in the process of putting together a book of poems that he's looking to release in the coming weeks. He's performing at what do you call them?
Spoken
Speakeasies or
words. Yeah.
spoken word houses, across many different areas. So, like I said, it's a gift that he picked up while we were incarcerated. As a matter of fact, I was telling one of the last people that we interviewed with earlier about the fact that that particular poem that he recites inside of in the second documentary was actually his very first poem.
Oh, wow,
It
that is
was his
amazing.
contemplation, with the concept and the thought of freedom. And when you hear it, it almost feels as if though he's like maybe talking about someone, but he's actually talking about something. And that thing was freedom. And so to see it come full circle and then it be utilized in the way that it has, that it, has been now, to introduce him in the film and then ultimately to reintroduce him to audiences upon his release, like I said, it's just really been ingenious.
Yeah, no, and hearing the way that he is, hearing him read it, hearing him emphasize it, hearing the emotion in his voice was just as powerful as the words that he wrote. I mean, the words are beautiful and the way that they, tied together was amazing. But then hearing, the emotion in his voice just kind of raised it to another level. So I hope
Reminded me of
there's more
some
spoken word from him as well.
right. Reminded me of something that I heard David I think it was what is the guy that played The Shining? Um Jack Nicholson with one of his quotes, and he said something to the effect of that when life is good, you dance to the melody. But when life turns bad, you actually understand the lyrics.
Oh
And
wow,
it's like
that's
listening to that with Ontario. It's like at one moment you kind of went along with the melody of what he was saying because you felt it a certain kind of way. And then for it to come around in another kind of way, it's like you kind of really get an opportunity to really sit
With the
with the
words.
lyrics. And it's like I now understand what it is that he's saying. And and he delivered it it was award winning.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the other, things that was very powerful in this film was the whole Mama Glow storyline. And when I was watching this, the only thing I was thinking was like, this would be an amazing series. Like every week highlighting some other incarcerated person and some other story of how the justice system needs to change. Is there any thought of like that avenue for your advocacy, like some sort of like series about various incarcerated people and kind of their stories and why the system has let them down?
I think the beautiful piece about what we're hopeful to do or how we envision our role in this space, David, is that we believe in the word demonstration. And
Mhm.
so the best thing that we can do for the movement is be a demonstration of what is possible, that we are ordinary citizens in America, but yet we have found the fortitude to create the change that we want to see in our world. And so through that demonstration, we hope that others will grab it, see themselves in us, and then become that change that they want to implement. I think that's the best thing we can do for one another. Fix what you want to see change. And so I appreciate that construct. But yeah, I think that just being able to tell more of these stories, but tell them from a perspective of people that are fighting these systems and actually winning. I don't
Mhm.
want to hear now another downtrodden ass story. Excuse me.
That don't end in
That
victory.
doesn't end in a victory.
Yeah.
And people are fighting and winning every day. And that's what we need to hear as Americans.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Start a movement and also show people hope, show people like what's
Right.
possible.
Yep.
So this film is titled Time to Unfinished Business. It ends with a kind of a call to action for additional unfinished business that you have. The sad thing is with the justice system and with kind of the way our society is, it feels like every one of your follow-up documentaries could be called Unfinished Business. So what is next for, both of you as you are working towards other causes and other goals in this space?
I think just to use more of media to show more of what's wrong. Media is a very valuable tool when you're thinking about speaking to the masses. It's one thing to grab a soapbox and talk about what's wrong, what needs to be fixed. But truth of the matter is that you're speaking to small audiences, hence you get small movement. But I think that when you're able to use the power of mass media, you have the power now to actually to really move the needle in a significant way because there are people that are suffering in the balance. And TV, film, and all of those types of things grant us that opportunity to be able to move the needle in a significant way that brings our people who are suffering closer to the freedom that they're hopeful to experience.
I am hopeful that viewers walk away from this film knowing that to be free is to free others. It is our duty to fight for our freedom, and it is our duty to win. And I am just hopeful that that messaging will resonate with others, and so each one will teach one, and we'll be stronger in the end together.
Just a wonderful message of hope, a wonderful message of change that this world sorely needs. This was a wonderful interview. Thank you so much for your time. This is Fox and Rob Rich talking about Time to Unfinished Business, which is premiering at the Essence Film Festival on July 6th, 2024. Like I said, it's the follow-up to Time. It goes into some of the other causes and some of the other injustices that they have been experiencing and fighting since Time, and some of the things that hopefully will change going forward. So I really love this interview. I love talking to you both. You're both inspiring people, and thank you so much for joining me.
Mhm.
Thank you, David.
Thank you
Thank you so
again,
much.
David, for sharing your platform.
That was Fox and Rob Rich talking about Time 2 Unfinished Business, which is premiering at the Essence Film Festival on July 6, 2024. It is the follow-up to their Oscar-nominated documentary Time, and it continues the fight and some of the themes that we saw in the first movie. Those are continued here and expanded to include some new causes and some new fights as well. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.